Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Single Touch Payroll webinar. Is your physiotherapy business ready? My name is Andrea Suarez. I'm a customer success manager from Reckon, and I'll be presenting today's webinar. Hopefully, by the end of this lesson, that you do get informed on what Single Touch Payroll is, and also find this webinar to be useful. Before I get started, I will start on just a little disclaimer to say that the contents of this webinar is of general nature and for guidance only. So we don't provide any professional or taxation advice. Viewers should consult with a professional advisor for advice on their specific circumstances. However, I will do my best to answer as many questions as you have with this webinar. Just a few housekeeping before we get started. So today's webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes and questions at the end. So you'll notice that the audio on your webinar panel is currently muted. So I'll be the only one who will be unmuted during this session. If you need to ask a question at any time, feel free to submit your questions in the question box using your webinar panel. And what I'll do is I'll answer all questions at the end. What you can do as well within the webinar panel, you can actually minimize the webinar controls so that you have view of the full screen of the webinar so that it doesn't distract you during this presentation. So basically, what's on agenda for today? So I'll be going through what is single touch payroll, so the what, the why, and the when. Also, what are the benefits of single touch payroll for your business? Also, who will be affected for single touch payroll? And we'll go through some tips and solutions to help you get ready for 1st of July this year, and also how can Reckon assist at the end. So hopefully this is basically what we're going to go through within this webinar. So first off, we will send you a single touch payroll guide and checklist. So we'll email at the end of the webinar within a day using the email address you use to register for this webinar. So this is basically a comprehensive guide on single touch payroll. So everything what I'll be talking about, as well as frequently asked questions, and also just a checklist just to ensure that you're ready by 1st of July. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started on what is single touch payroll. So the what, the why, and the when. So what is single touch payroll? So single touch payroll, it was introduced by the Australian Taxation Office, and it really changes the way employers or businesses report on their employee payments. So this includes salary and wages, PYG withholding, and superannuation. So under single touch payroll, what will happen is employers will send the payroll information to the ATO as at the same time as they run their pays. So for example, if you run your pays weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, you'll be sending off the payroll information to the ATO using your payroll software. So essentially what the ATO want to do is they want to report on each pay run. Oh, sorry, they want businesses to report on each pay run so that it saves time and resources for businesses at the end of financial year because you've already submitted all the up-to-date payroll information to the ATO throughout the year. So long gone are the days where you need to generate a PYG summary, or also known as group certificate, because you'll be reporting each pay run as you do the pays. So say, for example, you run your pays weekly, you'll also need to submit a single touch payroll report to the ATO, just so they're up to date with your employees' PYG, super, and salary and wages. So just to explain a bit further on single touch payrolls, so each pay run, it's considered what we call a pay event. Also, the Australian Taxation Office calls it a pay event. So each time you submit your payroll to the ATO, it becomes what we call a pay event. So the pay event is the file that's generated by your payroll software and includes all the payments. So again, it really depends on how often you pay your employees, but just note that you don't need to change the frequency of your employees. So if you're currently doing it weekly, just do business as usual, and there's no need to change the frequency of your employees' pays. It's just adding that additional report to the ATO by submitting the single touch payroll report. So how does single touch payroll work exactly? So what happens is when you're using your payroll or accounting software, it'll have all the tax and super information as well as the salary and wages, and it's all sent to the ATO. So what happens is when you run your payroll, you pay your employees, you provide them with a pay slip as usual, and then what happens is the payroll software will have the information, so salaries and wages, PYG withholding, and super information. And then it will show that it's being paid to the employee. So the ATO on their end will basically match the STP information to the employer and employee records. So the next question is why? So why is single touch payroll being introduced? So this introduction of single touch payroll, it's basically part of the ATO's plan to streamline business reporting. And they in the future, their plan is to move everything into a digital format so that it can improve accuracy and help reduce non-compliance. So hopefully that STP will save businesses valuable time, especially around the end of financial year, so that they don't need to process all the payment summaries, and also gives employees real-time visibility of their tax and superannuation. So for employees who have access to MyGov, they'll be able to see real-time visibility of their tax and superannuation, which is really good. So as you can see, it says here, single touch payroll is one of the biggest changes to payroll in over 20 years. So we always say, it has been a massive change, especially for small businesses. But, it hasn't been the biggest change since the GST, but it's been one of the biggest changes since the GST. So who does it affect? So who does single touch payroll affect? It actually affects all Australian businesses with one or more employees. So when did single touch payroll start? It's actually already started. So single touch payroll has been mandatory for businesses with 20 or more employees since 1st of July last year. And now the ATO has passed on the legislation to smaller businesses with less than 19 employees for this year. So if you have 19 or less employees, it will become mandatory from 1st of July. I know that you can start reporting voluntarily before 1st of July this year. However, if you do that, you need to continuously submit your pay runs or your pay events once you've started submitting. Another solution for those who have read up on the ATO, or you may have not. So what happens is if you do have a business where you have 1 to 4 employees, so this is considered a micro business. It's basically it's still mandatory, but they will give a special STP concession. And they've ensured that for those with 1 to 4 employees, they are given a free or low-cost STP solution. So an interesting figure, as you can see here, so the estimated number of employers who need to transition to single touch payroll from 1st of July is 750,000 businesses. That's actually a huge number considering for this legislation change. So just to give a bit more background on single touch payroll, so Since October of 2017, so 2 years ago, the ATO has provided information to developers. So they've been thinking about this for a very long time. But first, they actually did want to do a transition period where they only wanted 20 or more employees, sorry, businesses with 20 or more employees, to roll it out to these businesses first before doing it to the micro businesses. So 1st of April last year, what would happen is the businesses with 20 or more employees actually needed to do a head count, and then anyone with 20 or more employees actually needed to do STP, and it was mandatory for them to do it last year. And then they were started rolling out to smaller businesses with 19 or more, or sorry, 19 or less employees. So from 1st of July this year, it has become mandatory for 19 or less employees. Now, the benefits of single touch payroll. So I'll start with the businesses or the employers first. So under STP, you can see that employers will send the payroll information to the ATO at the same time as they do their pay run. So as I mentioned earlier, this does save a lot of time and resources for businesses at the end of financial year, because you're actually submitting all the payroll information to the ATO throughout the year. What happens as well is, for those who do their BAS or familiar with their BAS, which stands for Business Activity Statement, what happens is it actually pre-fills those fields for you, W1 and W2, so you don't need to fill that out when you're submitting your BAS. But if this is something that your accountant or bookkeeper does for you, don't worry too much about it, but it's good to know for your information. So it actually reduces the errors and double handling as well. Also, you're no longer required to generate the payment summaries, as I mentioned earlier, because it's available online through MyGov, and eventually, because as I've mentioned, the ATO are trying to move into that digital format. So what will happen is all the new employees that are being onboarded, they basically don't need that tax file number declaration, and they just need to provide their tax file number, so that they can do everything online, which is really good. It saves a lot of time. Now, what are the benefits for employees? It's quite obvious. So they will get up-to-date access to payments, so using MyGov, so they will have that real-time visibility. It also pre-fill all the information in the tax return, so it'll be quicker for employees to complete their tax return because they don't need to chase up the payment summaries. As well as I mentioned earlier, they don't need to do a tax file number declaration. It would actually be pre-filled for them when they start a new job. So it's really streamlining that business process. Okay, so now what I'll go through is some tips on what you need to do to prepare. So before 1st of July this year, which is just around the corner. So some tips on preparing for single touch payroll. I guess the first thing you need to do, it's determining on how you report through single touch payroll. So whether you choose to report through your current payroll accounting software that provides or offers STP reporting. Otherwise, you can also ask your accountant or bookkeeper to report this for you. If you are a micro business with 1 to 4 employees, you can also choose a low-cost solution. So yeah, it's just really determining on how you report through single touch payroll. If you're not too sure, I do recommend speaking to your accountant or bookkeeper. We do also, I'll show you in the end, but if you don't have an accountant or bookkeeper, you can actually find one that's near you that will be able to help you with single touch payroll. Another tip for preparing for single touch payroll, contact your current payroll provider if you're currently using a payroll solution. So find out what support is offered. So I'm pretty sure every software provider, accounting software provider, might I say, is offering a lot of support. So there's probably like online webinars such as this one. They will have resources. You also have, the phone support as well if you need help with how to submit STPs. There should be some single touch payroll guides. So I'll get onto this a bit later on, but I know that Reckon, we provide online webinars. We have our training platform that you can use. We also send out single touch payroll guides so that you'll be ready for single touch payroll. Another tip for preparing for single touch payroll is just ensuring that you inform the right people in your business. So again, that's going back to your accountant or bookkeeper, just ensuring that they're well across single touch payroll. Maybe you have payroll staff that look after your payroll within your business. So just ensuring that you inform them so that everyone's across all single touch payroll information for your business, and because it will impact on how you'll process your payroll. Last tip is because I know every situation or every business is different, so there is a useful site on the ATO website. So when you search single touch payroll on the ATO website, they do have a reporting guideline on how to report for single touch payroll. Okay, so the next part I wanted to talk about, I guess it will be different for every business, but which method for which business type. So if you're currently using the accounting software to process your payroll, you could probably already start using single touch payroll. So your accounting software should be STP enabled. So just ensure that you contact your current payroll provider to find out more information if the product is ready. I'm pretty sure most accounting software providers are STP ready. So just find out more information from your software provider to ensure that you're ready for STP. If you're currently using a third party to process your payroll, so a third party such as your tax agent or a payroll provider that reports to the ATO on your behalf, just ensure that they're STP compliant when they're doing your payroll reporting. If you're currently using paper and manually submitting payroll obligations to the ATO, this is it actually does impact a lot of businesses, because I know we do have clients who still use Excel spreadsheets or anything like that. Unfortunately, you will need to move to an STP online solution. So if you report manually, it will say that you're not STP compliant. It means that you need to report your salaries and wages and PYG withholdings digitally to the ATO. So what you can do is you can either find a registered agent or a payroll software provider that can do STP, or just purchase a payroll software that is STP enabled. And which leads me on to some solutions available. So as I've mentioned earlier, if you are a micro business with 1 to 4 employees, you will have a free or low cost solution. So the ATO has made this mandatory for all software providers to ensure that you are getting support as a small business. So just to let you know, Reckon do provide a free single touch payroll app. So whether you're using iPhone, Android or Google, you can download the app. So what is different? The difference between the mobile app and the payroll, our online payroll solution, the app is a more simplified version, and it's for any businesses with 1 to 4 employees. So if you're currently using a payroll software solution and you're happy with that, that's fine. But it's just to let you know that we do have a single touch payroll app available to you. So this was released 2 to 3 weeks ago, so it is quite new. And what happens is it's very easy to set up. you basically need to enter in your year-to-date information and then just report the gross payments for your employees. If you're not too sure, please email us at training@reckon.com and I can give you more information on the Single Touch Payroll app. Okay, so this brings me to our last point of how can Reckon assist. So for those who don't know who Reckon is, so we're an Australian-based software company. We're also publicly listed. We've been around for 30 years within the business, and we do have more than 250 employees, which is located in North Sydney. We also have some people in Melbourne and Brisbane. And we support all small businesses. So we've supported 800,000 plus businesses throughout Australia. And we're very proud to be Australian-based company. So how can Reckon assist with single touch payroll? So we've actually implemented for all our payroll software to be STP compliant. So if you're using Reckon One, or if you're interested to use Reckon One, that's our cloud accounting software, and it is our fastest growing software as well. We do have single touch payroll already enabled within that software. For those who have more larger businesses and you're an existing customer, we do have STP enabled within Reckon Accounts Hosted, and Payroll Premier as well. So basically all our products are STP compliant. So what we've done within our Reckon software, we've created an online platform called GovConnect STP. So GovConnect STP, that's our online platform where it connects all our Reckon products, and it actually communicates directly to the ATO. It allows you to lodge all your STP, and it's basically keeping up to date online when you lodge your STP with the ATO. So with GovConnect, just to give you a quick overview, you can review the information before you submit it, so you're not submitting directly, so that you ensure that all the information is correct. It gives you the status messages from the ATO, so it'll show you if it's been approved or whether you need to make any more amendments or anything like that. It's also no extra cost. So GovConnect STP is for free. The reason why we've done that is because if you have multiple staff or multiple users managing your STP, they can also have access to your GovConnect STP. You can also review past submissions as well. So anything that you've submitted within GovConnect. And it's also MFA secure. So MFA secure means using multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is just another, I guess, way of securing that you are the user submitting STP. It's very similar concept to when you log on to MyGov and they send you a text message, or when you do your online banking and they send you a text message. So it's just ensuring that all your information is secure, because you are dealing with sensitive data. You're also dealing directly with the ATO. So the ATO has made this a mandatory requirement for all software providers to have MFA when dealing with the ATO. So how GovConnect works, usually a visual picture makes everything much easier to understand. So it acts as a gateway to the ATO. So it connects all our products first. So anything you send from Reckon One, Reckon Accounts, or Reckon Accounts Hosted, it'll send all that payroll information to Reckon GovConnect. So that's where you review all your information first, and then it communicates directly to the ATO. So they will receive your STP reports, and then they will send a message back to say whether it's been completed, successful, or any other errors that you may need to fix. So what does GovConnect look like? So this is just an example if you are submitting STP within Reckon. So this is just an example of an STP report where it shows that it's successfully been submitted. So it shows me the ATO status. It also shows me a list of the employees included in that pay run, and it gives all me the year-to-date figures. So if you're not too sure about this, I do recommend double checking with your accountant or bookkeeper with STP. So we always recommend to keep everything as simple as possible because this is quite a new and it's quite a big change as well. So we like to give these 4 tips to be STP ready if you are using Reckon. So we always say that you need to sign up to the Reckon portal, which is for free and it's online. Enable your multi-factor authentication, set up your GovConnect STP, and then also registering your software ID with the ATO. So these are very 4 key steps that you need to do to ensure that you're ready for single touch payroll. Just to give a bit more information on single touch payroll within Reckon, what you can do is you can actually drill down into further detail of the report. So it's good to see that you're reviewing your information first before you're submitting it to their government as well, or to the ATO. So when you submit an SCP report, this is basically what it looks like. So say it's successfully submitted, and then it'll say ATO status pending because you're waiting to hear back from the ATO. Okay, so in terms of support and how we can assist, so we do have the Reckon Training Academy. So it's actually free for all our customers and for all our partners. And the Reckon Training Academy, it provides all the resources for single touch payroll. It also gives information on our products, so such as Reckon One. We also do have soft skills courses on there as well, and you can also see all the third-party courses as well. So they may charge for those courses, but it also shows like a first aid course if you want to do or anything like that. So the website is trainingau.reckon.com, but I can include this in the link when we email you. But it shows all the videos, guides, and resources to ensure that you're well trained up and you've learned more about single touch payroll as well as Reckon. If you're unsure and you need help in terms of having an accountant or bookkeeper to help you, so we have Reckon Cloud Advisors. So what Reckon Cloud Advisors is, it's anyone, I guess, certified and knowledgeable to use our Reckon products. You can find an advisor that's near you. So whether you live in Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, etc., you can find a Reckon advisor near you so that they can help you with your accounting or bookkeeping. In terms of assistance, we've got plenty. So we do have a single touch payroll page on our Reckon website. So if you go to reckon.com/STP, it'll give you all the information on single touch payroll to ensure that you've learnt all the information and you're well and truly ready for 1st of July. We do have a phone help desk, so if you call 1-800-RECKON, any of our staff will be willing to assist you with your inquiries. If you're an existing Reckon user, we do have our Reckon community page, so you can ask questions, and it's all answered by our partners, Reckon staff, and all the expert users within the Reckon community. As I mentioned, you can find an advisor as well. So find any accountant or bookkeepers near you. Otherwise, we do have live Reckon SCP webinars. So if you want something a bit more product specific on training with the single touch payroll, we do have SCP webinars coming up. Okay, so that basically wraps up the webinar for today. I'll just check to see if there's any questions. Okay, it looks like there's no questions at this stage. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining me in today's webinar. I hope you did find this session to be useful. If you do have any questions that come up later on, please feel free to email training@reckon.com and I'll be able to assist with your questions. Otherwise, we will send you a copy of this recording. So we'll send a link out to your email address so that you have a copy of this recording just for your future reference. So thank you again, everyone, for joining me today, and hope you have a lovely afternoon.